Yeah, the headline is Usyk, 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 and that is Oleksandr Usyk. Hopefully, I've done that chant justice. Everyone seems to want a slice of Alexander right now with the latest, and it'd be no surprise because he's been calling for the fight, as far as I remember, for a while. Another bite at the cherry with him. And I think it's a lot of it. The call is it's less about call outs in the way that we view call outs now with fights and more out of a respect and want to push themselves. And everybody seems to love Alexander Usyk right now. And Derek Chisora is the latest fighter to put himself in. I guess if there's a hat for it, the hat for a fight with Alexander, who's set down a 2-fight plan left for him to retire and exit the sport. And one of them seems to be clear that it's going to be Daniel Dubois for a second undisputed heavyweight title clash in about a year or so. So, yeah, I mean, the prospect of Derek Chisora, who seemed to have struck up a real good friendship with uh, Alexander Usyk, someone who a lot feel gave Alexander Usyk a real hard fight in his entry to the heavyweight division. I believe it was his second fight in the division, and has racked up a couple of impressive wins recently after a lot of people were worried about where he stood in the sport, and himself has put a deadline on where he and when he will call the curtain on his own career. So the prospect might be that we see Derek Chisora and Alexander Usyk rekindle. I wouldn't call it a rivalry now anymore, but a battle to show respect, maybe, as Derek Chisora wants to fight Alexander Usyk. I don't think personally we will get to see Usyk versus Chisora 2. He would kind of be a real good opponent with respect to Derek for a homecoming fight for Alexander. Now, he can't fight in the Ukraine at the moment, but as close as you can get to that would probably be in Poland. And Wrocław, Poland was a brilliant background to the fight with Daniel Dubois. I remember being there and covering it for SecondsOut, and it was a beautiful, beautiful location. And that you in a fight with a homecoming, traditionally it's a opponent you can beat or the heavy favorite in, and Chisora, with respect, would fit that bill. So it's not out of the realms of possibility, but I would contend that someone of Alexander Usyk's stature, ambition, desire would want to win the undisputed heavyweight title again, and then maybe look to drop down to cruiserweight and try to win a world title, or if the belts have been suitably collected by one fighter, then to challenge for undisputed at cruiserweight and then call it a career there. But the prospect is Chisora and Usyk 2, Usyk Chisora 2. Do you want to see it, Danny?
No, definitely not. I mean, I'll watch it, but only once I've got one of those dodgy sticks that everyone's been talking about in the chat. Yeah, I mean, it's a myth, isn't it? It's a myth that Chisora gave Oleksandr Usyk an incredibly tough fight. He didn't. He gave him a mildly tough 4 rounds, and then Usyk took over, and Chisora wasn't in the fight after that. You know, he took some time to get used to a big, strong heavyweight pursuing him. And once he got used to that, and it took a few rounds, maybe more than he expected, that was it. And Chisora, if anything, is probably slower now than he was then. And Usyk is more accustomed to the heavyweight division, having beaten the 2 best heavyweights apart from himself twice each. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a ridiculous last fight for Usyk. Being a dream last fight for Chisora, of course. And I like Derek. I've got no problem with him, you know, making loads of money and having a really celebrated last fight. But no, let's not waste an Usyk fight on that. I don't think anyone was calling for that rematch, were they, except for Chisora? So, no, not for me. I mean, I'd like to see Joseph Parker get the next shot, not just because he put out that promo video that everyone loves. What was it? Shania Twain?
Yeah.
Still the one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't mind that song back in the day. It was really good. I was saying this to my partner the other day. There's a really good documentary on Shania Twain. I'm not sure if it's on Netflix or one of the other platforms. Really interesting. And an Alanis Morissette one that's even better. But off that tangent, back into boxing. Yeah, I want to see Joseph Parker because I think I favoured him to beat Daniel Dubois in their cancelled clash. I think he's waited a long time. He's cleared up a lot of the supposed threats in the heavyweight division. I think he really deserves it. He's WBO interim champion. I know the WBO have called for that fight, but as what is his name? Gustavo Oliveri, the WBO president. So used to it being Paco. I think it's Oliveri.
Yep.
He said recently that could be superseded by a unification fight, so an undisputed fight with Daniel Dubois. If that was requested, it would go to the championships committee and they would have the final say. So it's not necessarily Joseph Parker next. I think it should be, partly because he deserves it and partly because it was Dubois that pulled out of their fight, not Parker. So in my kind of what's fair view, I feel like he should be ahead of him now in the pecking order for that undisputed, but then it wouldn't be undisputed. That's the argument in Dubois' side. It wouldn't be an undisputed fight if it was Parker. It'd just be a defense from Usyk. And Usyk's made it clear that he himself wants Dubois next. I think personally that Parker has a better chance of beating Usyk than Dubois does. I think it was Buddy McGirt on our channel who said Parker is the only heavyweight out there who can beat Usyk. I'm not sure I'll go quite that far, but I do think he has a better chance than Dubois. I think Dubois has improved immensely in the 18 months since the first Usyk fight, as Frank Warren often says. But the flip side to that is I don't think he's improved enough in the areas he needs to beat Usyk. You know, he's got a lot more metal. He trusts his power more. He'll go into the trenches more. So that enabled him to knock out Joshua, for example. But against Usyk, unless Dubois' footwork's gone up to another level, and it's already pretty good, unless his hand speed's gone to another level, and it's already pretty good, and unless his boxing IQ and variety has gone to another level, I don't think he beats Usyk second time round, third time round, fourth time round. I think he's going to be someone who excels once Usyk retires, in the same way that, you know, Vitaly Klitschko excelled once Lennox Lewis retired, and everyone will then say, what a great win that was. Or Floyd Mayweather and Canelo, you know, what a great win that was. Got him just the right time, etc., etc. But for me, no, I want to see Joseph Parker get the shot. Eamon, who do you want to see get a shot? And then we'll go to the chat.
You know what? I'm game for this Daniel Dubois fight with Oleksandr Usyk. I think Joe Parker and Daniel Dubois are the two fighters that you want to see in the opposite corner of Oleksandr Usyk. However, for me, the opportunity to get an undisputed heavyweight title fight again, I think makes me choose Dubois over Joe Parker. There is, of course, the thread of the history between the two of them, having been there, covering the show as well, too. That kind of makes it a little bit more of a want or a motivation to see that run back again, and the controversy of whether it was a low blow or not low blow. I get a feeling that Oleksandr Usyk, despite his confidence in knowing that it wasn't a low blow from his perspective, and I believe that having seen multiple angles now that it wasn't a low blow either, but he'll want to make sure that there's no doubts, no controversy, no reason for anyone to point the finger towards Oleksandr Usyk and say this is the means in which he defeated Daniel Dubois. He'll want to silence any critics and doubts, and he'll also want to silence any doubts that, look, if Daniel Dubois is the guy next up in this generation of heavyweights, and I know a lot of fighters will contest that it's Daniel Dubois and want to put themselves at that number one status, but if he's that guy, he's the guy then to notch up a victory and another against really cement his legacy when he leaves the sport. So I get that a lot of people want to see Joe Parker in that fight. I do believe he's deserving of an opportunity at a fight against Oleksandr Usyk as well. That's the fight that people want to, or that's the fighter they want to test themselves against, but not over another undisputed bout, unfortunately. And hopefully Joe Parker can get that opportunity, but I'd rather see Daniel Dubois in there again.